When a journalist once asked the Dalai Lama to name his worst enemy, something unexpected happened. Instead of mentioning political oppressors or those who forced him into exile, he burst into laughter and said, "My worst enemy is my best teacher." This wasn't just a clever response, it revealed a profound secret about achieving unshakable inner peace that most people completely miss. Today, we're diving into this counterintuitive approach that neuroscience is now proving works, and more importantly, how you can use it starting today. Here's what most self-help advice gets wrong about inner peace. We're told to avoid stress, eliminate negative people, and create perfect conditions for happiness. But the Dalai Lama teaches something radically different. He views difficulties not as obstacles to peace, but as the very path to it. This isn't just philosophy, it's practical wisdom backed by science. When researchers at Stanford University studied the Dalai Lama's brain patterns during meditation, they discovered something remarkable. His neural activity showed an extraordinary ability to remain calm during simulated stress scenarios. But here's the key insight. This wasn't because he avoided difficulty, but because he had trained his mind to transform it. The Dalai Lama calls this embracing the enemy. Every challenging person, every difficult situation, every moment of suffering becomes a teacher. But how exactly does this work? The answer lies in what neuroscientists call cognitive reframing, literally rewiring your brain's response to adversity. Let me repeat this crucial point in a different way. Inner peace isn't found by running from problems, but by changing your relationship with them. The Dalai Lama discovered this during his own darkest moments. Losing his homeland, watching his people suffer, facing seemingly insurmountable challenges. Yet these experiences became the foundation of his unshakable peace. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The Dalai Lama's approach isn't just ancient wisdom, it's cutting-edge neuroscience. Dr. Richard Davidson at the University of Wisconsin conducted groundbreaking research on Tibetan monks, including close associates of the Dalai Lama. What they found was astounding. Loving-kindness meditation, a core practice the Dalai Lama teaches, literally changes brain structure. The areas responsible for empathy and emotional regulation showed dramatic growth, while the amygdala, our brain's alarm system, became less reactive. But here's the counterintuitive part. This wasn't achieved by avoiding negative emotions, but by fully experiencing them with compassion. Think about Richard Gere, the Hollywood actor who transformed his life through these teachings. He describes how the Dalai Lama taught him that true detachment doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. Instead, it means caring deeply while not being controlled by outcomes. Jerry learned to embrace his struggles with fame, relationships, and personal challenges as opportunities for growth rather than sources of suffering. This is compassionate detachment in action, feeling everything fully while not being enslaved by those feelings. As the research shows, this practice literally rewires your neural pathways, creating what neuroscientists call positive neuroplasticity. Let me emphasize this scientific breakthrough again. Your brain can be trained to find peace in chaos, but only through engagement, not avoidance. This is the secret most people miss. They're trying to eliminate challenges rather than transform their relationship with them. The Dalai Lama often tells a story about a university professor who visited a Zen master. As the master poured tea, it overflowed from the cup, spilling everywhere. When the professor protested, the master said, "Your mind is like this cup, so full of opinions and preconceptions that nothing new can enter." This empty cup philosophy is central to the Dalai Lama's approach to inner peace. But here's what most people misunderstand. Emptying the cup doesn't mean becoming passive or losing your personality. It means dissolving the ego's need to always be right, always be in control, always be the center of the story. Modern psychology calls this ego flexibility, the ability to hold your identity lightly. When researchers studied people who maintained inner peace despite major life upheavals, they found one common trait. They didn't rigidly identify with their roles, achievements, or circumstances. They held what psychologists call a flexible self-concept. The Dalai Lama exemplifies this perfectly. Despite being one of the world's most recognized spiritual leaders, he consistently refers to himself as a simple monk. This isn't false humility, it's strategic ego dissolution. By not clinging to grand identities, he remains unshakable, regardless of external circumstances. Here's a practical example. When faced with criticism or failure, most people's egos immediately jump to defense or attack mode. But with an empty cup mindset, you can ask, what can this teach me? This single shift transforms every challenge into a growth opportunity. To repeat this key insight in different words, unshakable peace comes from loosening your grip on who you think you are, allowing space for continuous growth and adaptation. Now let's get practical. The Dalai Lama uses 3 specific techniques daily that anyone can implement, regardless of religious background or meditation experience. First, the morning enemy practice. Each morning, he mentally reviews potential challenges for the day. Difficult meetings, stressful situations, annoying people. Instead of dreading them, he thanks them in advance for being his teachers. This primes his brain to look for lessons rather than problems. You can start this tomorrow. Spend 5 minutes each morning identifying your potential teachers for the day. This simple practice shifts your mental framework from victim to student. Second, the compassion reset. Whenever he feels anger or frustration rising, the Dalai Lama uses what he calls a compassion reset. He immediately considers what suffering the other person might be experiencing that's causing their behavior. This isn't about excusing bad behavior. It's about maintaining your own inner peace. Research by Dr. Emma Seppala at Stanford shows this practice reduces cortisol levels and activates the parasympathetic nervous system within minutes. Your body literally shifts from fight or flight to rest and digest mode. Third, the bedtime gratitude review. Each night, he reviews the day's challenges and finds something to be grateful for in each one. This practice, backed by decades of positive psychology research, literally rewires your brain to notice opportunities instead of obstacles. Let me repeat these 3 practices because they're so crucial. Morning enemy practice, compassion reset, and bedtime gratitude review. These aren't just feel-good exercises. They're scientifically proven methods for building unshakable inner peace. The Dalai Lama's secret to unshakable inner peace isn't about creating a perfect life. It's about perfecting your response to an imperfect world. When you stop running from difficulties and start embracing them as teachers, when you practice compassionate detachment instead of cold indifference, when you empty your cup of rigid expectations, you discover what he calls unconditional happiness. This isn't happiness dependent on circumstances. It's peace that exists regardless of what's happening around you. And as we've seen today, this isn't just spiritual philosophy. It's practical neuroscience that anyone can apply starting right now. Remember, every challenge you face today is actually a teacher in disguise. The question isn't whether difficulties will come. They will. The question is whether you'll let them defeat you or transform you. The choice, as the Dalai Lama teaches, is always yours. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next video.